Well, yeah, welcome to everybody that's on. If you have questions that come up during the chat, feel free to put those in the chat. But I want to start off just kind of introducing myself, talk a little bit about how this even came to be in the first place, why we're doing what we're doing. So Erik and I have been working together. Erik's a recovery coach, as you should already know at this point. But Erik has been coaching me for the last 6 months, since January. It's the end of June now.
6 months. Wow. It has been
Now it's
6
going by
months.
quick. So I sought Erik out and through a mutual friend because I was ready to start taking my one-on-one coaching business to the next place. And I could tell that he was doing what I wanted to be doing. And I've had this agenda for quite a while, but just life changes, jobs, this and that. I just wasn't able to pull it together and get going. I would coach people here and there. And I've had a background. I mean, I have worked in sober living homes, long-term structured sober living homes for about 10 years. Been an AA sponsor for that long, mentored people, worked one-on-one, ran giant groups with people, their families. Like, I mean, I've been in this recovery space pretty deep for the last 13 years plus. So it's not like I was a stranger to taking people from point A to point B, right? And in fact, I could call myself an expert, actually. But what I didn't have was this vehicle to monetize that, to make that my personal career. You know, I could get a job somewhere, but that wasn't what I was looking for at this season of my life. And so I was searching for somebody that was doing it already. Like who's a recovery coach out there? And I honestly couldn't find any. I mean, I was looking for a long time. And again, through a mutual friend, I met Erik and connected with him and knew that this was going to take me to the next place. And within, you know, I think the first or second conversation that we had, I pivoted into consulting for sober living homes. And that in and of itself, like, paid for like his coaching and my coaching with him within weeks. I mean, it was just like, and it's completely changed my life in so many different ways.
And I didn't even know that until
Till
we were
later.
a couple of months in.
Yeah.
Because I guess I just thought that you already had that plan and needed help getting there. And it came about once we started talking.
Right.
Yeah. I didn't even realize that came about once we started talking. Then you got this sober living home as a client. It's awesome.
Right. So it's been this process of, you know, not completely abandoning the life that I've built financially, my day job, my family situation, you know, that over time has taken effort to build, right? And I've always been in this place where it's like, oh, well, I have to jump ship and start my own business, you know, and figure it out and put all the stress on myself. And I just could never seem to do that. And so this process has been about keeping the day job, you know, managing that, excuse me, and then building this on the side and growing it intentionally the way that I want it to look. So I, in the process of the last few years, have met people and I'm connected to people who are looking for something different. You know, they're passionate about helping people. They want something more fulfilling. Like they're over here working this job like I am and like I was, you know, construction job, sales job, whatever it is. And they are doing well and they're prospering, but they're not having purpose, right? And they're not being fulfilled. And they don't necessarily have the tools or support or the funnel or the vehicle to monetize themselves as a spiritual guider, you know. And that's to me what this is about how do we monetize, and not because of making money, but because we want it to be our work. We want it, our finances and our work to be together, and we want to be passionate about it, and we want to serve, and we want to help people, and we're good at it. And these are people that I'm meeting that are, they've helped thousands of people, hundreds of people, most of it for free, most out of the goodness of their heart. And that's fantastic. There's nothing wrong with that. And I don't advocate stopping that. I just add, let's add this over here where we can monetize it and do it as a service and be a professional. So I'm going to start with the sales pitch, because I've been in enough free webinars and do this courses and all that to know that there's a pitch at the end, right? I'm going to start with the pitch. That way it's out of the way and you can just forget it. You know what I mean? Like, you start there and we can be present for the rest of this conversation. And the pitch is, Erik and I have partnered into this package where he has a training program. It's an online course that is about business building and how to be a recovery coach. And then we're packaging that with 3 months, a 3-month commitment of live calls with him and I. And we're basically, the goal is for people to, within at least that first 3 months, get their first paid client. And in my mind, that ideally pays for itself, within 1 month, 2 months. It just depends on what people are charging and what kind of service they're providing. But essentially, we're focusing on everything I just talked about in this intro, how to take what we already do and what we already know and all of the insights and all of the lived experience, and how do we put that into a business that's not taxing, it's not overly complicated, it's not this giant undertaking. It's just a simple pivot to the right, and you start building a business on the side. So $1,250 total for 3 months, which basically means $500 for the training course that Erik already has, and then $250 a month for the ongoing support, the live calls that we're going to be doing. We're going to talk about everything from like I said, business building, marketing, how to monetize yourself,
I'll
how
just
to
add
know
this to
what
that
you're
too.
worth. Go ahead.
Mm-hmm. I would just add this, that most of the people that come to me and have come to you, they don't necessarily need all the ins and outs of how to walk people into more freedom. If anybody that's on this call or listening as it's recorded, chances are you've already done this with people. You already know the basics of how to connect with someone that's in a very broken place. Maybe they're have just relapsed or still struggling in addiction, or they're in their recovery, really, really struggling. You've already sponsored people, mentored people. I mean, like 90% of the people. The hiccup comes in when they want to take it to another level. They even go out and get a certification, right? Which I know a lot of people that have some sort of coaching certification, a health one, a life coaching, whatever it is. But unfortunately, the amount of people that I know that have a certification that actually have clients, that number changes drastically. Exactly. And I spend a good amount of time in my course talking about it, and we'll spend a good amount of time talking about that in the group calls, because we can always get better at helping people one-on-one. Like, I never want to think I got it all figured out, because as soon as I think that, I just put a cap on my growth. So we always could get better at that, always teach that, always learn how to do it better, so on and so forth. But if I don't have a client or clients, am I really even a coach? Do I even have a business? I could have I could have 5 certifications. If I don't even have a client or know how to get them, how long am I going to keep wanting to do that if there's not something coming back in the tank, so to speak? Mm-hmm.
Right. And I just want to reiterate, like, coaching has literally changed my life foundationally. And I believe that as a business, it changes people's lives. I think that it's a great business model and that it's relationship based. You don't need a huge amount. You don't need inventory. You're not going to do this giant expense to start up, right? As a business, we're branding ourselves and we're working on ourselves. Everything comes back to here, right? It's not a product. You are the product. And so it just continually refuels and grows that vessel. And it's endless, it's limitless. Like I can't say enough about it, but I don't want to make that the focus here. And the focus today is,
we'll shift. Let me say one thing on top of what you just said as well. It was one of the things that really, I had a buddy who transitioned from working at a university, and he did all the tech stuff, and he transitioned into building the Life Coach Training Institute, which is all an online life coaching if you type in free life coaching certification, which it's not free, but if you go to the website, you'll see how he plays it out. He still gives you a ton of stuff for free. He's number one on Google. He built all of this from his garage, literally, and still works from his garage. And he makes 6 figures now, just doing this from his garage. But I mentioned that to say like what the possibility is, but also on top of that, there's little to no overhead when it comes, like if you're talking about this from a business standpoint. It's not even that there's no overhead. You get an LLC, your rent or your mortgage then becomes a tax write-off. Right. Your utilities at your house are now a tax write-off. And it's not playing the system or it's the literal way the tax system is set up. Everything I get, like so much of my entire life now, I have no overhead. Well, okay, so I have some overhead with like subscriptions to websites and different things like that. But generally speaking, like I don't have a brick and mortar shop. There's no overhead, and it's all a tax write-off.
Right.
So that as well, that's a huge plus. That's a huge plus.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we'll do another podcast, another webinar about all those benefits and all those the limitless possibilities.
They're
endless. What I want to focus on today is your experience. It's rare in my opinion and in my experience that you get time to talk with somebody who's doing something like this full time and have them open up about how they got started, what they're doing, how it works, and just open up the books, right? So I'd like for you, I've got a series of questions that we'll go through. I'd like for you maybe just take a few minutes, not long. I probably took too much time already, but take a few minutes, maybe tell everybody that's watching who you are, kind of just the overall picture and what's going on in your world. And then I'll get into some questions.
Yeah, man, I'd love to. I'm excited to even be doing this call here and the people that are on and that are listening, because I take this very seriously. This is what I do basically all day, every day. So in a nutshell, the age of 13, addiction took over my life, as probably most people that are listening to this call, and many people can relate. It was immediately, like just as bad could be. That lasted for 13 years. Suicide attempts, an overdose, hospitals, jails, rehabs. We know the stories. We know how it goes. Watched over 30 of my friends die, not right in front of my eyes, but all around me. And that was the number when I got sober. That number's probably more than doubled now, people that I know. But age of 26, I was living in Utah. I moved to San Diego shortly before my 27th birthday. And it was good to get out of that environment. I got into San Diego and things changed, and they changed fast in my life. It's kind of like a whirlwind of transformation. It's been a fun ride, but things just changed really, really fast. It was about a year and a half, 2 years into my journey, I started doing ministry, a lot of speaking, a lot of stuff at like shelters on the streets. We went down to Mexico and did stuff. And I'll make this point as I tell my story, but many people that I talk to that want to do coaching, what you'll find out is you've been preparing for this for a long time. Your heart to help people and the experience you already have to do it has prepared you to do this effectively. That's why I spend about maybe 50% of my time talking when I'm talking to coaches and training. I'm like teaching them how to do the coaching, because they got their own niche and way to do it, and they've already been doing it for a while. I personally think at least 50% of the time needs to be talked about, well, how do you actually build a business and get clients? So that being said, all the work I was doing prepared me to do this. And then my buddy, he started the Life Coach Training Institute. He said, hey, take the certification for free. So I did it. Started doing just life coaching. I was doing that for about 4 years as kind of part. I would have sometimes one, sometimes 2 or 3. I kind of just always had maybe 2 or 3 clients on the side. 4 years into that, 3-4 years into that, I got very specific back into recovery. And I've spent the last, I think it's coming up on 5 years, 4.5 years, I forget, but I specifically have just been doing this full time. I've done some, I do some other things business wise, but this is what I do. It's coaching, helping people recover, helping people build businesses. This is the bulk of my day, right here, this background, this video screen. This is a lot of my day right here is working with people one-on-one. And I've done, many have heard the story, Thomas Edison, right? The number varies. Some of the reports say it was 700, some say 7,000. We'll go with 700. But a reporter asked him, they said, hey, you failed at figuring out how to find a filament, like how to find something that would actually host the electricity in a light bulb. I've heard different numbers. We'll say 700. You failed 700 times. Like, what kept you going? And he said, I didn't fail 700 times. I realized 700 things that didn't work. Mm-hmm. We've heard that. It's a cliche. It's, like way we motivate. But I can say a lot of what I've done has been that. I didn't do everything right. I didn't have someone guiding me, so to speak. I've had coaches. I have friends. I still have my friend with the Life Coach Training Institute. He has a lot of good stuff, but like specifically what I was trying to do, I didn't have someone individually guiding me. So I've done some things wrong. Better way to say it, like I was learning a lot. And man, if I can work with people now. So the recovery thing is awesome. And obviously I love that. And I've seen many hundreds of people just get well, and I love it. But now I love too helping people start a business, because then you're multiplying, then you're helping more and more and more and more and more people. Right. And man, if I could work with someone and I can get them to where I'm at or close to it in say some months or like less than a year compared to the amount of time it took me to get here. Oh man, that's amazing. It took me a minute. Learned a lot of things on the way.
That's why I pursued you, the same idea, because I knew if you can get there, all you got to do is just show me how to do it, among other things. So
a lot of telling you, well, some of it too is telling you, don't do this. Okay. Don't do this or this. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's also very much about my message, what I'm interested in, who I'm speaking to, what kind of coaching I'm doing, and who I'm working with. And that's the beauty of coaching. It's very tailored to the client. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about that though. So that's really my first question, is like, from your point of view, what is coaching? Because there's a lot of people that I meet that have heard about life coaching. They either know somebody who knows somebody who's a life coach. You hear about it on TV or social media or just in the media, right? But a lot of people haven't experienced coaching, I found, or they have and it didn't go anywhere for them, and maybe it wasn't the right time, or maybe it wasn't the right coach. And so they're a bit confused on the experience and what coaching actually is. What would you say to that?
So I think you could probably write a whole book on it. But obviously I'll condense, and I would just put it this way. So I've had many many people, I dare say the majority, if the majority is at least 51%, that come to me and they say they've done a lot of counseling and therapy and it didn't do it for them. That is not a knock on counselors and therapists. As with coaches, you're going to get good ones, you're going to get bad ones. Okay. My experience has been, though, when it comes to like counseling and therapy, and some of it is needed because what the person has been through, you want to dig into the past and, people's childhood. And I think there can be some benefits of kind of digging that up and getting some clarity on it. But with coaching, for me personally, what I've seen for a lot of people is we're not trying to identify the problem and dig into it. We want to, we're not trying to look at the problem and stay there and dissect it all. We want to identify the problem. Let's not be foolish and pretend a problem's not there. One of the things I always say is like, try that with a debt you owe. Just try and pretend that problem doesn't exist. Let me know how it works as the debt collection grows. Same thing happens when it comes to growing past our own issues. Like there's an interest accruing on that. So we need to figure out what the problem is. Okay. But as soon as we figure out what that problem is, we pivot and it's a solution. It's like, all right, so this is the issue at hand. We got to shift the mindset, and we got to process and implement practical action steps that begin to change the bearing on that compass. And as that is shifting, we got to stay accountable. Next week when we talk, we laid out these action steps. What did you do? Because action begins to bring about the shift. And I'll say this as well. And again, we could easily talk about this for the entire call, but I would just say this as well. If you look at it like a sports coach, the coach doesn't need to be good. Like most good coaches did. We'll take like baseball, for example. Okay. And if you didn't play baseball, just follow me on this. Like most of the coaches have been involved in the game or did play to a certain extent, but they don't need to be as good as the player was during their career to coach them good. They need to be able to make that player the best at what they can do. And a coach can't play the game for them. A coach can't do the work for them. A coach can't enter into their talent and skills. The purpose of a coach is to see the talent, the potential, what is going on in that person, where they're trying to go, and be the guide, encouragement, and accountability to get them there. I will keep talking for a long time on that.
What would you say is the difference between that and, say, a mentor or a sponsor? Without knocking, any of the other modalities out there, but like, I've heard people or got this sense that people are kind of hesitant that like, they don't think it's right to be paid to be a sponsor or a mentor or whatever. Like that's something that needs to be done as a service for a volunteer. What's the difference in your mind between coaching and a mentor or a sponsor?
So first of all, I did it for years for free. I have a lot of free resources to still help people because I know everyone that comes to me, isn't going to have the means. That's why I put a lot of free resources out there to still help people. But I would say, anyone that's been in the rooms of AA recovery stuff, like you're going to meet sponsors that are good at it. Like for real, they're good. They know how to help you get out of it. And anyone that's really been involved in that has probably met some people that are trying to be a guide for others who are not good at it. They're not. Doesn't mean maybe their heart's not in the right place, like their intentions are good, but they're just, that's not their wheelhouse. Sponsors' main jobs is to take people through the steps, right? Mentors' main job is to, it's the same kind of thing. You're searching out somebody who you want what they have, right? But I feel like the biggest difference with a coach is that there's a very specific like certification and skill set that they have. There's a specific amount of time allotted, and that is their full focus, right? You're getting the best of somebody who is skilled, trained. It's what they do. This is my profession. You're getting the best of them. When you have a sponsor or mentor, they might have enough of a skill set or wisdom to help you, but it might be hit and miss. You might call them and need them, and they don't even answer. You might get them you might be able to meet with them I mean, it just depends. There's some that have more time, but it's like you may be able to meet with them once every 2 weeks for coffee for 30 minutes. And that can be helpful. But they may or may not even have this specific skill set needed to help you really get to where it is you want to go. A coach has the specific, a good coach has that specific skill set to get you there. And you have their full access and undivided attention during the specific times you set up. And they are walking with you every single step of the way. It is a very intentional focusing of we're getting you to the next level, period. That makes sense?
I like to call it consistent, constructive conversations.
That's good.
I'll speak a little bit about 12-step sponsors because I've been one time and time again. So I believe the difference is, as a 12-step sponsor, you're bringing somebody into this system of the 12 steps, getting them into this place that is very much not there. They didn't come up with it, right? The sponsee, the client, isn't really guiding the ship most of the time, especially when they're new. When you're new, it's like you can't think anything. You're going to get plugged into this system because it's going to save your life, and that works for some. It doesn't work for some, separate issue. But the point being that I'm trying to make is, as a 12-step sponsor, your job is to, again, bring that person into this system that's created, which is the 12 steps and the principles behind it. As a coach, you might have a format, a program, a system, but I've always been of the belief that, and they say this all the time in the coaching world, like coach comes from the original, like coachman back in the day of a taxi. Basically, you're taking somebody where they want to go. They have desires, they have potential, all the things that you just mentioned. And you're, as a coach, going where they are and getting them to where they want to go, and supporting that process. And you really, it's a challenge to set aside your bias, your what you shouldn't do type of thinking, judgment that you're putting on the next person, and fully accepting and believing the fact that that person you're working with has the potential to get where they want to go, because they're seeing it, because they're feeling it, it's real, and they can do it, and they are leading the way. So I think that that's a huge distinction between a coach and a sponsor, and even a therapist for that matter, because you're meeting that person directly where they are and talking about where they want to go. What are their dreams? When do you ever really have that conversation with somebody, even a professional? Like, somebody asks you, hey, what's your dream? Like, what are you dreaming about? And how do we get there? That's, to me, that's what coaching is about. And I don't think it needs to or has to take place of all those other things. I think it can be very much supplemental. And there's a fill that gap between a therapist and a sponsor, or a mentor and a counselor, or whatever. I've been to all of those things, and they all serve their purpose. So
it's good. I would just add this too. I'm glad you chimed in, and what you're saying is right. And my experience has been with a mentor sponsor, a lot of the time you're telling them what to do. And if we're going to be real, sometimes like a good sponsor, someone that just came into like AA or whatever, you kind of do need to tell them what to do. Mm-hmm. You want to ask them, well, what do you want to do with your life? Somebody that's like 5 days sober. Like, right. I don't know if that's may not be the exact.
I just want to live.
Exactly. I want to live today and not go to the emergency room. But with a coach, so I will give people direction. I absolutely will in my coaching. But the bulk of it is what you mentioned is I'm asking the right questions, mm-hmm. and leading people into understanding a lot of the answers you already have. You just need to be asked the right questions, because, I found something out interesting about questions. When you ask a question, it immediately changes people's perspective. And case in point to that is if you ask the right question, people rarely respond by saying, I never heard that. Almost every single time when you ask a good question to somebody that makes them think, their response is, I never saw it like that. The right questions are going to change the perspective. And it's true. When people come to me to work with me, it's like, I'll see things in them and I'll point out potential and talents and highlight things they may not be able to see. But my job is, like you said, is to get them where they want to go. It's to help them become better at what they do well. And questions are the primary avenue to get there. I'll hear some coaches saying, like, I don't give any direction, none. I don't give any advice. And I'm like, yes, you do. Knock it off. Yes, you do. People want advice. But coaching can't be that. It can't just be someone hops on, you tell them what to do. You got to empower them. You got to ask the right questions to them. You got to get them engaged, taking accountability and into action. Asking good questions is an amazing way to get that activated.
Okay, let's talk about the business side of that a little bit. Because I feel like a lot of people, you don't have a business. You've said this. I know a lot of people, you don't have a business until you have a client that's paying you,
paid. Yeah.
So that's a big jump. I mean, I feel like from having a desire to work with people and get paid for it, basically get paid to have conversations and be involved in someone's life, from dreaming of that or thinking of that I could do that to having someone actually pay me to do that seems like a big jump for people. It seems like a huge shift somehow. How did you get your first paid client?
So my first client, if I'm gonna be real about my journey, was this was when I started doing life coaching. My first client, I had to convince this person to let me coach them for free. And I had a client, I guess, technically a client, someone that's paying you. I guess I didn't, but I had someone who was calling themselves my client. That's my first person that I officially started working with as a life coach, was that. Mm-hmm. My journey has changed over the course of over 8 years now. So maybe the starting place to answer this question isn't the perfect spot, but I want to jump out with this because it's a huge hiccup in people's thinking. Like, I shouldn't be getting paid for this. And I'm like, okay, so first of all, you got treatment centers out there that are charging people $1,000 a day. That's pretty average. That's about the standard price, somewhere around there, $1,000 a day. You'll find cheaper ones, right? And one's way more expensive. And after 30 days, the amount of people that get sober after coming out of treatment is single digit percentages. Truthfully, it's probably less than 5%.
3. I think it's 3.
So let's also, it's crazy low, but let's also throw into that, like, how much money are people spending on drugs and alcohol every single month to destroy their life? See, because we got to remember, people are investing in their life no matter what. It doesn't, if they're going the wrong direction or the right direction, they're investing their time, their energy, their money is being invested. It may be a horrible investment, but everybody is investing in something, and there's always a return on the investment. So one of the things that helped me get past any of those mindsets of like, well, why do I deserve to get paid? How do you put a price tag on life? How do you put a price tag on being free from addiction? Now, we have to do it. Treatment centers have to do it. A coach has to do it, right? You have to put a price tag on what it is. But everybody, like I said, everybody's investing in the amount of money that people are just putting into that they've destroyed their life with. If we can paint that picture clearly and just say, look, you're already doing it. Why not invest it in something that's going to get you the return you want? That's something that helped in my mind get past this thing of like, well, I shouldn't be charging people. Well, This should all be done for free. And the truth is that we help a lot of people for free. Okay. Many of us have, but you're worth getting paid. You're worth getting paid, especially if you can really walk someone into freedom. If you can really help someone start a profitable business, like, you're absolutely valuable and worth getting paid. I know that is kind of a strange place to answer, but that's a strange place to start to the answer. But that's where I find most people need to get past. Like, they need to get past the belief system first of thinking, well, why should I get paid? Why am I worth it? You got to understand, you got to see the big picture here. And if you can help someone do that, you're extremely valuable in the world. And there are people that will pay, plenty of people out there that will pay. When it came to, it was a long journey, and I always had a few clients to start. And this is a very big, like, I spent a good chunk of my course on this, and this is something there's a lot to this answer, but I would just say this: it's got to start with understanding that we are valuable, we're worth it. And then we really have to understand that there's a very big difference between working in the business and working on the business. When it comes to getting clients, we have to understand how we are presenting ourselves. Okay. Working in the business, working one-on-one with people. That part I really don't even consider work, to be honest. I thoroughly enjoy it. Working on the business is a completely different perspective and a completely different approach. I have to understand branding. I have to understand, how am I reaching these people? What kind of content am I putting out there? How am I putting it out there? And then when I'm talking with people, how is it that I'm explaining to them what it is I can do for them, where I can take them, what the price tag is on it? And Nick and I were just talking about this, I think it was yesterday. One of the biggest things is really learning how to reach more people. If you're going to get clients, I can't just go to, say I got 1,000 friends on Facebook. I can't just hammer those 1,000 people I know every single day. They're going to unfollow me. They're going to I got to learn how to get out there, reach my target audience, and reach the people that are really looking for this kind of service, because they're out there. There's plenty of them out there. But I can't just keep hammering the same spot and get upset when the results don't come. I don't know if that has specifically answered exactly what you're looking for.
Well,
you
answered,
talking for a long time about it.
Yeah. You answered several questions that had to do with, how to get clients, sort of the fundamentals of building this business out. What I'd love to hear about still, though, is, how did you make the jump from 0 clients or 1 client that you were coaching for free to someone's paying me to coach? Like, who was that person? Not specifically by name, but how did you get, because those are the people that I believe are interested in this, is that they have a job that's paying them, and they're looking to start something different, very custom to them, and it's going to be on the side. It's going to start with 1 client, right? That's
we're not jumping into having a full-time business here, right?
Eventually it grows, right? But where does the first jump happen? How did that happen for you? And what steps were in that process? Go ahead.
No, I'm glad, and I'll get talking. I'll get to talking. So thank you for reeling me back into the specificity of it. I will say this, man, for me specifically. Okay. I was doing a lot of speaking. I was speaking in churches. I was speaking in rehabs, community stuff. Even when I got the certification, I was already doing that. For me, and the reason I started with mindset is I had to take ownership of it immediately and say, I am a life coach. And I had to say, I had to commit and jump off the cliff, so to speak. Okay. Say, I'm committing to this, feel called to do it. I'm doing it. And for me personally, in my journey, I started getting, most of my clients, especially early on, were from me speaking. And it was never I didn't get invited to come and pitch my business when I'm speaking at these places, but I would always mention, I would tell a story about a client that I was working with whose life got transformed, right? Even though when I didn't even have any clients, I would just say, and I've started coaching people. I've been working with people for a really long time. This is what I do. And now I'm specifically coaching. We have to, the sooner we can take ownership of it, get the support, we need to get the help, we need to get a certification, get in a group of people that's growing in it, but take ownership of it. You're going to get the people that respond. So the biggest hurdle for me was owning it. I am a coach. This is what I do. Consistently mentioning it. It takes, when you don't even have a paying client yet, to step out and confidently tell people, I am a coach. This is what I do. This is where I can get you. You have to really take ownership of it. And here's the truth. Okay. I'll add this too. And in my over 8 years of doing this, I can think of one person that asked me, well, where are you certified? Where did you? I'm not saying don't do that. We should absolutely be legit certified, have an LLC, so on and so forth. People's biggest concern is, can you get the job done? Can you actually help me get to where I want to go? And so my jump from what I was doing at the time into actually getting paid clients, much of that, I got the certification. I had someone that was mentoring me, but much of it just came from saying, consistently owning it and telling people, this is what I do. This is what I can do. And the pivot, the commitment and the pivot to saying, I'm doing this, you slowly get people that start, all of a sudden you get an email, same night after you're done speaking. It's 11 p.m. at night. Oh my gosh, thank you. Like, your story helped me so much. You talked about coaching. Tell me more about that. It's practically speaking, whenever anybody reached out, still to this day, I always do a free 30-minute consultation. So you plant those seeds, you throw them out, people respond to it. And you say, hey, let's set up a time, do a Zoom call, do a phone call, 30-minute consultation. And, maybe that's not something we get into the nuts and bolts of today, but how do we begin to talk to clients and let them know what we do and where we can take them and whatnot? But the biggest thing for me to get from it was owning it, and it was a mindset.
Yeah,
it really was planting those seeds and owning it and telling people, this is who I am. This is what I do.
So what I hear you saying is you probably had opportunities. Clients were in your proximity, going about your daily life, speaking, being somebody in recovery, just meeting people, being out in the world, being you. Potential clients are coming and going around you all the time, but not having ownership of it and not having a process in which people come into you and go deeper with. Not until you had that could you actually have a paid client. That's what I hear you saying.
I'll add on to this. So not everyone that's listening to this recorded or live now is going to have, you may not have all these speaking opportunities.
Sure,
you may not have an audience to speak to. That's neither here nor there. That's super helpful. And we can give some real good tips on how to pursue that. And some of those things can open up. You might not have that, but you do have a network. You do have something. You do have friends who are counselors. You do know family members or people that are struggling. And don't call them all up and pitch your business to them. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying that becomes the starting place. What is it I already have in my hands? Who are the people I already have influence? What is my immediate sphere of influence? And I'm not going to just make a sales pitch video and send it to all of them. That's not what I'm saying, but just begin to tell them. It's that simple. Just begin to say, I work with people one-on-one. This is what I do for a living. Out the gate, you're starting. Like I work with people. I'm building, on the side, and I have few clients. I've been working with people for a long time. Let me know if that person would be interested in talking. Let me know if maybe let's sit down, grab coffee for 30 minutes. It's relational. And you just start with your sphere of influence and start with what you have. I'll tell you one of the things, maybe you guys have seen it before, an ad on Facebook or something. It's like, sign up for our coaching program today, and in 3 months, you'll be, scale your business to 30K a month and get high ticket clients. And I'm like, I personally know nobody that's done that. I know a lot of coaches. Okay. I don't know anybody that went from nothing to 30K in 3 months. Nobody. Am I saying it's not possible? No, I'm sure there's some people out there that have done that. But practically speaking, we can get the training support that we need and begin to just mine the gold out of our immediate sphere of influence and steward and build from there.
Yeah. And something you said in your training program that's always resonated with me, the way you said it was good. And it was basically thinking about what's within reach right now. What do you have access to that's within reach? And I find that most people have a lot within reach, more than they realize. You can't see it when you're in the middle of it, and you're so busy with holding down a job and your family and career, just all these things that society and life have going on these days. It's hard to stop and see, first of all, where we're wanting to go, and then what opportunities, resources, both financial and people, what's available to us right now that literally supports that path going forward.
I'll say this really quick with that too. Like, the language we speak is going to draw the people we want. And so people want hope. People want encouragement that they can change. People want to hear that it's possible. And so as coaches, we need to have a language that is just laced with hope. We need to have a vocabulary that is filled with encouragement. It's what people are looking for. And if you think about it, the people who are looking for that, they're looking for it because they know it's available. They're looking for it because they know it exists in them, right? This next level, but they can't get there. And so as coaches, it's important that we are constantly pointing people towards the future. We're pointing them towards the future with hope-filled language, encouraging vocabulary, letting people know, I've done it myself. I do it with people. This is what I do. I can, if you're ready, I can get you there. I can confidently say that to anybody. I've worked with professional athletes. I've worked with CEOs. I've worked with people in music. I've worked with people in politics. I've worked with a lot of people. I don't need to be good at what they're good at. I don't need to. I mean, it helps if I understand it, it would help if I was, but I don't need to. I need to be able to speak the language of the heart, access their heart, let them know I can get you there, and that they trust me, and begin to relationally walk with them and encourage them and point them, keep them accountable into where it is that they are trying to go.
Right. Which I believe people that are interested in this, who are watching now or will be watching, they have that naturally. They are motivated by that kind of language, that kind of conversation. They're passionate about exposing people to those ideas and concepts and things that they're themselves are trying to be exposed to and learn about. And it's just this constant, refueling of ideas and feelings and concepts and energy and all the things. So I'm glad you touched on that. What I think I want to talk about, because I think it's important for people to understand and to get down to nuts and bolts, is like finances. Like, how do you financially make this work? What you can charge, what the options are there. And I want to kind of add something to tail off what you just mentioned, which is, I'm a fan of like people niching themselves.
I think it's
especially when they're getting started, because they have a very specific message or an experience that they've been through, or experiences that they've been through, that they already feel this urge to take people through that experience to the other side of it. And I think that when you start niching down, you can maybe not cast this giant net of like, I need to coach like 5 people a day to make, X dollars, but you sort of boil it down to, okay, I have a handful of clients that are very specific to what I'm doing, or consulting, so that's kind of my experience, is like, I'm consulting for long-term sober living homes. Like, there's a very specific client that I work with. And as a one-on-one coach, I focus on people who have multiple years of recovery under their belt, or they've been through addiction and they're on the other side of it, sort of stabilized, and they're looking for something more. They're stuck in their kind of maintenance lifestyle, and they want to take it to the next place and follow their true dreams, and it's about lifestyle, and it's about passions and that sort of thing. So I'm meeting people at this very specific place where they are, and that helps me, refine my message. It helps me, understand who I'm talking to and who my client is. It's not everybody. It's not the person sitting next to me on the plane. It's not, just whatever. I still
you should
serve.
plant a seed with them and give them your card.
I do.
They might not be your client,
very
but
much
they might
do.
know someone who is your client.
I very much do.
Had that happen.
I serve. Okay. I do what it is that I do. But my client is very specific, and that helps me with my rates also. You know what I'm saying? So I know that was a long spiel for a short question, but I really think it's important to talk about finances, like the nuts and bolts of how people can charge for what they do, what they can charge for what they do, how do they make it work financially for themselves and their families, and that sort of thing. Because realistically, you can't make a living coaching people for $25 a session or $60 a session.
No.
And live in South Florida or Chicago or
anywhere
New Philly,
in the world,
Ohio, for that matter, realistically.
Yeah. So the analogy, I've used this with you, the analogy that I use when it comes to finding a niche is this: say, the term breakthrough is a popular one. Say there's a brick wall in front of us, right? Most people try and break through that wall, and they get a hammer and they just go hit everywhere on the wall. Just like, let me loosen it up over here, hit over here. And they're enthusiastic and gung ho, and they hit everywhere on the wall, and the wall never breaks. And they get tired. Like, it's not possible. I'm not called to this. A niche, when you find something specific, sometimes we think that it is narrowing. Like, I'm going to be so limited if I find a niche. The truth is it's the exact opposite. It starts with a narrow spot. Okay. The shift comes when we're looking for a specific niche, when you just draw a circle right in the middle of the wall and a giant X through it, and you keep hitting the same spot. You just don't stop. That's the only spot you hit, is that one. You're going to break through. And then it becomes easy to pull. It becomes so much easier to break the rest of the wall down. So when we find a very specific niche, we attract people to us that are, that's the language we're talking. That's the message we're putting out. We attract those specific people. Out of that, though, people think it's limiting. It's the exact opposite. It opens up so vast on the other side, because you'll get people who came to you for that specific niche. Their life got so transformed. They're like, well, but do you work with other people who struggle with this? And yeah, I can, and I do still to this day, but I can't start there. I can't just throw out this huge net and say, I'll work with anybody. Very few people are going to respond. But if you zero it in on something and really start to get, it could be a lot of different things. My gosh, it could be people in recovery with an eating disorder. It could be like specifically only people that drink alcohol. It could be that you just, the more narrow we make it, we think we're limiting ourselves. It's actually the exact opposite. And it's extremely beneficial because it helps people understand. It puts a language and a structure to, well, what is it you do? Who do you work with? Well, I help people change their life. Okay, what is that? Like, what do you mean? What are you talking about? Like, what do you mean? So what is it you do? How do you do it? Well, I specifically work with people in recovery who continuously relapse, who don't want to go to AA anymore, whatever. Okay. You find your specific niche, it opens up a lot more than we think. And we could talk a lot more about exactly how to find your niche and whatnot, but just starting at the mindset of understanding that, I think, helps a lot of people. But I'll say this about finances for sake of time. People, sometimes we limit ourselves because we think of it like an hourly rate.
Yes.
And we say to ourselves, gosh, who am I to make $100 an hour? Who am I to get paid $250 an hour? Who am I to, like, I don't, that's a modern civilization, Western culture concept anyways. Okay. It's not about the hourly time I provide. It's the value that I provide. If somebody has spent 10 years stuck in addiction, they've gone to treatment centers, they've gone to therapists, they've already shilled out all this money anyways, and they never got the shift, yet they can come to me and we can work once a week for an hour, stay in contact and accountability in between sessions and begin to build and grow. And they're paying me $150 a session. It's about the value that I can bring to that person. It's about the transformation that you can bring. How do you put a price tag on someone's life being completely transformed? How do you put a price tag on someone that's overdosed 5 times in 10 years and their life is a disaster, and they start working with you, and in 2 or 3 months, their life is already like hardly resembles the old life? How do you put it? We have to, but we have to understand it's the value that I'm providing. It's not the hourly time that I'm putting in, it's the value I'm providing. And that, again, is the difference a lot of times between a sponsor and a coach. Like a sponsor, like, they're good and they can help people and they guide people and whatnot, but a good coach should be able to take someone into real transformation, into a whole new level. And that is not about, again, I'm repeating myself, that's not about an hourly rate. That's about the value we can put on it. Out the gate, I remember 8 years ago, I started doing sessions for like $80 a session. I would tell people, you sign up for 2 months, I'll give you 1 free session. I just kind of started building where I was at and scaling. Today, it's not the same. I still work with people for, I don't work with too many people for less than $125, $150. And that's kind of like a good deal. People are like, oh my gosh, that's so expensive. Like, who's going to pay that? There's tons of people out there that will pay that. Because again, this is what they want to know. Can you actually help me get to where I want to go? That's the question they have. Can you get me there? Because I know I can get there, but I haven't been able to get there. Can you do it? So I've scaled over the years. There are plenty of people out there that will pay it. And I'll say this too. So my life coach training institute, the certification with that is a really good one. It was free because it's a good friend of mine, but it was legit, and it is a good one. When I got specific about recovery coaching, I paid $750 for a certification. And it's a credible, well-known. They've trained tens of thousands of people who have gotten certified. I'm not even going to mention the name. But I went through it and I was like, is this for real? This is all, it's just basically you read stuff on a page. At the bottom, you answer 5 questions, and there was like 5 sections. That's neither here nor there, but I invested the $750. There was a deal and I got like level 2 certification for it because they had a deal that month or whatever. So 2 different certifications from, it is credible, which is a whole nother conversation. But within 2 months, I was already making money. I was already in the green. Within 2 months, I had that paid back. And so the amount of money up front I'm willing to invest in my own personal growth sometimes is like, I don't have that money. I can't invest. Like, I don't have that kind of money. But we have to understand everything we're doing is an investment, and investing that on the front end, getting with a group of people. And can get you to where you want to go. Yeah, it's an investment on the front end, but that's $750. Okay, so the time and energy and investment I've put into me growing as a coach is years of experience and time. The specific financial investment was $750 for 2 recovery coaching certifications. They didn't have group calls, they didn't have nothing. It was just online, read through it, answer it. You know what I mean? If we look at just that $750 as a seed compared to the harvest that it's brought, we're talking 4 years of full-time work as a career. So the biggest thing is mindset. The biggest thing about it all is mindset.
And also, I want to add, I think, there's a bit of a customization to this, again, as far as how you want your lifestyle and business to look. So like, I know from our conversations, you do one-on-one coaching, but there's other things that you're also, doing, speaking, like just all these other avenues that are writing, passions of yours that not only help your business, but also like bring in income and give you fulfillment and all these things, and I, from what I've heard in your story, it's like there was heavy on the one-on-one coaching for a long time. And that was like the meat and potatoes of the business. And to an extent it still is, but then there's other things that you've grown into. Me personally, I'm focusing on only a handful of clients at any given time, and going for $1,000 a month for both one-on-one people and like, corporate or business clients. And I'm going full into those relationships, but doing it in a way it starts with what I'm looking for. And also I tell people this too. It's like, what are you willing to pay for your own self-development? Like I pay easily over $1,000 a month for my stuff, whether it be coaching, like, exercise stuff, food related things, like spiritual stuff, like things that I'm consuming or kind of working on, like therapy is like, just, I pay well over what I ask people to pay me for their self-development. Right. And so, that I feel like is also a pretty good starting point, for people that are starting out, is like, what right now, what do you pay, or what would you pay for your own journey, and try that, see what the thing is. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. There's really can't hurt,
And the other thing too, I'll add this into all that. And that was well said. It's a good point. It's like, if I'm not invested in my own personal growth continually, I'm going to cap off,
right.
I'm going to find a place where I plateau. And how can I really talk to people and tell them the value of investing in their own personal growth through someone to help them, if I'm not currently doing it or have done a good amount of it and continually do it, right? But I look at it like this too. When I started, my circumstances and situation is different than what everyone else's is going to be. Okay. But the best place to start is not asking, well, how do I make this a full-time business? It's just beginning to build. Keep your day job. Keep your career. So maybe you got a whole bunch saved up and you have the time and energy to take a break from that and slowly start building this, and you'll be all good financially. People's situations are different, but most people are maybe, not in that place. Start building this in your spare time. Start building it out. How do I want to coach? What do I want to do? Start building a website. We got a question here we'll touch on as soon as I finish this thought here, but you don't have to build a career in a massive business overnight. We got to start stewarding and building what it is we have. I transitioned into this. Even after 4 years in, I remember I got a part-time job for a season, and I've had a couple of I've never had a full-time job, but I've had some part-time stuff along the way. It's like, we just start like, how helpful would it be just financially and fulfilling personally to begin to help 2 or 3 people a month with an hour call a week, or however it is you want your coaching to look like, and you're getting paid to do it.
It's a game changer.
It's a complete game changer, man. It's personally fulfilling, and you're making more money. And it's a valuable service that people are looking for. You're talking about people's lives being transformed here. And so you don't need to build this massive business overnight. You just got to start building with what you have and transition into the growth with it all. For sake of time here, let's see what this question is. How easy is it to build a language that reaches believers and unbelievers alike?
That's all you.
That is, I would say this might be in my wheelhouse here. I'll just put it this way. So anyone that's worked with me knows full well I am a passionate follower of Jesus. I will not be shy about it, but I'm also not going to shove it down anyone's throat. I'm not going to do it. People come to me, know what I'm about, but even in the conversations I have with people, it doesn't need to be, well, in this Bible verse, this needs to be this, and this needs to be this. If that's the language they understand, they're hungry for it, that's the language I'm going to speak, and I'm going to lead them into that if that's what they're desiring. But I've worked with plenty of people who are not believers. For me personally, and not everyone that's listening, this question is applicable to you, okay? But this is helpful in this regard. So let's say we're not talking specifically about like a religion, like someone comes to you who you don't believe the same as everything they believe. That's basically going to be everybody. Like we don't, but someone comes to you who has opposite beliefs of you. Look, I don't need to only work with people that think like me. I don't want to work with people that only think like me. So what I do, if what I believe really works, it should, or while it's my believing it, I don't need to beat people over the head with the belief system. I need to begin to speak the language that conveys the principles. I need to begin to tell them stories. I need to begin to, look, if we even just look at Jesus, like read through the Sermon on the Mount and the Gospels, he used common language. He revealed points in common language that people that were listening would understand and get. And I look at that the same way. If I'm working with somebody who doesn't believe the same as me, my goal isn't to get them to believe exactly the way I believe. My goal is to help them to get where they want, to get where they're trying to go, improve their life. A lot of times it may lead into a lot of other things, but if I really understand and believe what it is I say I understand and believe, I should be able to convey the point in simple language. I should be able to convey the point to people through analogies and simple stories that benefit them where they're at. This answer is specific to the question, anyone listening down the road, okay? But for instance, a lot of people, when you bring up the Bible, there's a lot of resistance to it. I completely get it. I completely understand, okay? But if someone asks me a question, I'm trying to convey a point to them, and I just immediately start hitting them in the head with scripture, okay? Sometimes they'll put up their resistance, even though what I'm telling them could be really helpful, truthfully. And I'm not trying to tell them read the Bible every day. I'm just using it to paint a picture. They'll put up some resistance because of a bad experience they've had or whatever, okay? For whatever reason. But instead, if the principle and the point that I want to make to them, that I'm getting it in my mind from somewhere I read, say, again, in the Bible, I just take that principle and that point and convey it in different language to them. Just simplify it and convey it to them in a way they understand and meet them where they're at. And many times I've seen people who have this resistance to anything religion, okay? And if I take out all the Christianese, take out all the religious language and use common language and yet reveal the exact same point, they love it. Part of me wants to be like, all right, well, you want me to tell you where I really got that? You know, like maybe it'll make you a little bit more open-minded. But I don't, but it's just like, the point is to try and enhance their life. It's not to try and control their thinking or tell them they have to think like I am. And if I really believe and understand what it is I believe, say I believe and understand, I should be able to convey it in a lot of different ways. And so.
Great question.
Super helpful.
Thank you, Jess. That was a great question. I think it also lends itself to talk about or mention quickly, like, we have a message. Each person has a message that I think they believe they're is important to share. Maybe it's multiple messages, but the point being, everybody's got their own, and everybody's got their own language, and everybody's got an opportunity to express that in some way. And I am of the opinion that it's like, you may not be talking to everybody. Everybody's not your client. Everybody's not looking for your experience and your story, right? Like you draw who you are, you know what I mean? And I think it's important that we be as authentic and real as we can be. But it also, to your point, means we have to have a talent and a skill of meeting people where they are, so that we can serve them. Because ultimately, if we're not serving people and they're not getting results, then we're not really doing anything. You know what I mean? It's kind of pointless. So
that's it. That's the whole thing, man. Are we getting people the results they want?
Yeah.
Can anybody come to us that's really ready, whether they believe like me or not? Do I have the ability to communicate and work with them and walk them into the transformation they're really seeking? That's the bottom line.
Yeah. So anyway, we talked about, I think, we've covered a lot of the questions that I had prepared. We didn't do them necessarily bullet point structure, whatever.
I got a way of jumping around. Maybe
I mean, it's a conversation. This is what it's about. We've ebbed and flowed through the whole story, and I hope that people go back and look at, okay, what were they talking about here? What was mentioned here? Because there was a lot of really good points made about, starting out, how to get clients, how to talk about money, how to know your worth, the journey, what coaching is. I mean, everything we've sort of, talked about and touched on. What to do about a day job if you have that. There's all of that stuff in there. And again, we could go on for days probably about all of those subjects at length to talk about, and still have more to talk about.
Yeah.
So I want to kind of bring this to a close. But before I do that, I want you to share, I'd ask you to share, what is your lifestyle like? How are you living? I'm a big advocate of lifestyle and purpose, and just, how all those things look for people. And I think that for me, this journey through coaching is very much about that. I think it is for you as well, just based on what we talked about. So the question is like, what's your lifestyle like, but also like, why do all this? You know what I mean? Like, what's the point for you? Why put this much work in? Why, how has it manifested? Just kind of generally, what's that experience like for you?
So I'll tell you, I'll end with what my life is like right now. Okay. Mm-hmm. But I'll start by saying it's a journey. You got to have a vision for where you want to go and why you're doing this. Okay. I wanted to start doing this because, first of all, I'm very passionate about helping people. That's everything for me. It really is. When I'm working one-on-one with people, it doesn't even feel like work. Well, some clients are work. They definitely are. They're worth it. You could tell they want to change. Some people are definitely work. But when I'm working one-on-one with people, like it doesn't feel like work. The passion to help people and see people's, because I've experienced hell on earth. I mean, to just put it that blunt and point blank and black and white, I have experienced very real hell on earth. I know what that's like. I also know there's a way out. You don't have to keep, it takes work and commitment and whatnot, but there's a way out. And so the passion of helping people get free is what I was already doing that in my life. I was already doing that for years. I was already doing that. So to continue to do it and say, oh man, there's a way I could actually do this and continue to do it for a long time and provide for my family and whatnot. There was a few different times in my coaching journey where I was pretty close to quitting, if I'm going to be honest. Some times I'm like, man, I've been doing this for a while. Like, again, right now I only have 4 clients or whatever. Right. There's been those moments. But the biggest reason is that I truly feel called to do this. I feel God's confirmed it. He wants me doing this. This is what I feel. This is what I should be doing. That's a lot of what kept me going. But the other thing was just understanding, like, anything we really want in life is not going to just come easy overnight. It's just not. It doesn't work like that. So there was a process of building. There were times where I was working, and then the calls were on Saturday morning or at night. And like, there were seasons of work, for real work. Okay. But that has shifted and grown over the years into, I wanted to have more time to be with my family. I wanted to be able to live life the way I want to live it. Not talking about like, well, I don't want to work. Well, I don't want to do that. Well, I don't want to do this. No, I know that there's things that I don't necessarily want to do, even to this day, that I have to do. It's not that, but I get to do this on my terms. I've built this the way I wanted to build it. And it's been very good. I step into my office now about 9 a.m. every morning. I work from home the majority of the time. I've been invited to do other amazing things. I coach businesses now as part of what I do. Now, we live in Florida and got a, nice house, not a mansion yet, but, got a nice place here in Florida, a pool in the backyard. Sometimes on my lunch break, we go out back and barbecue, and I hop in the pool for 45 minutes and then come back into my office for the afternoon. Like, I don't want to paint that picture. You might be in a totally different place, and financially you could already do that. Okay. But it took work to get here. But it was the fact that I love people and wanted to do this. And I saw the vision, I saw the life I wanted to create, and I just stuck to it and did it. And it's possible. If I could do it, anybody can. Now, if I can do it, you're out of excuses, maybe is a better way to say it. But my lifestyle today is I get to spend a lot of time with my family. I get to do podcasts from home, make videos from home. I get to do a lot of writing. I just published my first book on Kindle. It's just a fun little short read. I got another one that's almost done, and then my full-length book is almost being done, edited. I've been able to get into investing with some of the money as well, which has created even more increase in our life. Doors have opened for me to go speak with, massive multi-million-dollar businesses and help coach them. It has grown over the years, but I want to help people. I found out I'm pretty good at it, and I want some free time to be able to spend with my family. And it has grown into that. And I will continue to work hard, and I will continue to enjoy free time with my family in the pool or on the beach, a lot of it in Florida.
Can I tell you what I see?
Please.
That was a sweet coaching question. Did you see that?
I do. Yeah. Do you mind if I share my perspective on that real quick?
So I see and hear you talking about all the things physically in your life, the time, the family, the pool, and the opportunities that are presenting themselves. But what I see, because it's what I'm looking for, and I have a very sharp eye about, is you seem like you're living this lifestyle of inspirational downloads, ideas, feelings, intuitive thoughts from God, whatever you want to call it. And then you are carrying those out in the form of coaching, speaking, meeting people, relationships, writing, whatever it is that's you're being called to do. It's being materialized in your life, and you're building it, and you're growing it, you're stewarding it. You used that word earlier. The other lifestyle choice is going away to a job where someone else is directing your agenda and thoughts, and you set up your life based around other people's agendas and thoughts and schedule, and it stresses you out everywhere, at home, at work, when you're having fun elsewhere. Like it becomes this just overarching gargantuan heavy monster, right? And
Gargantuan.
some people are
good word.
way on the other, some people are on the extreme of that where they're like to the max, and some people maybe not so much. But the point being, you know, you seem like you've stripped away all of those external forces and are living this path of inspiration and intuition and just whatever it is you're being called to do, you know, and being free in that, and that being the freedom. That's what I'm experiencing as I'm stepping into this life, this lifestyle. And that's something I've been searching for a long time, because I know that that is freedom. It's not necessarily being able to lounge on the beach all day, you know, without purpose necessarily, or just, you know what I mean? Like there is that element
that's
of it.
That's for the weekends.
Yeah. We can find freedom in that, in fully stepping into what we're supposed to do. Not what we're supposed to do by other people's standards or society standards, but by our own creators' standards, ourselves, you know what I mean? What we're made and what we're built to do. So that's what I see when you're talking about what you're doing.
Yeah, that's very encouraging. I appreciate that, man. Just in response to that, I would say I don't consider myself somebody that, you know, is trying to follow God. Like, that's the only thing in my life. And what's God telling me to do? Where he guides, he provides. If he's telling me to do it, I'm gonna follow him, and I'm gonna help people and build and believe and grow. And there's been some points in the journey. Like I said, there was at least a few times over the last 8 years I was like, dude, maybe I'm done with this. Very glad I didn't. I'm very glad I didn't. You know, if you're listening right now and you've had this perspective in your mind of like, well, I'll just get into coaching, it could just pay really well and I don't have to work that hard, just kill that thought. Cut its head off and throw it in the fire. Murder that thought. If you're not willing to work, like, you need to get to work. You're going to still work hard. I've had to learn how to edit videos. I had to learn how to do podcasts. I had to learn, like, there's so much stuff I had to learn I didn't know how to do. I set my mind to learning it. I got better. I do a ton of reading, writing. I get up every day before the sun and I read, write, pray. Like, no. I'm working every day. I work and I work hard. But if I'm trying to follow my dream and build it and work hard, it should expand into enjoying life in some different ways than the average person, right? I've worked for other people. It's totally commendable and needed in a lot of seasons. If you're working for someone else right now and building, like, God bless you, do it. It's neat. Like, it's awesome. Technically, I guess I still do, because I work for a business consulting firm, right? It's totally different than 9-to-5 kind of gig. And I love it. And the team's amazing and my boss is, but it's like, if you really commit to this and you're really willing to still work hard, yeah, you can build the life you dream of. It's going to be continual hard work, but it's going to be work you love. And you're also going to be able to build a life it's going to expand. It's going to be based on relationships. And yeah, there's perks that come with really doing what you feel you're called to do, setting your mind to it and building it. I get to experience those perks. I also get to wake up every day and work really hard.
Well, I think that's a great place to end, you know, in this space of purpose and, you know, fulfillment and excitement about life, building the life that you dream of. I mean, essentially that's what we're serving people to do. And that's what we're doing for ourselves in the process. So that's what this is about for me. And I think for everybody in here is that's the mission we're on. And it's taking shape in the form of consistent, constructive conversations that change lives. So
good vernacular to put around it. Consistent, constructive conversations.
Yeah. So hope that this was valuable I know it was for me. Hope it was valuable for you if you're listening now, and if you're listening later. I want to give a big thank you and share my gratitude for the people that showed up live today and took the time. It's almost an hour and a half out of their busy Saturday.
We committed to 45 minutes.
We did, sometimes good conversations just keep going.
They often do. Yeah, I'll just say this too, man. There's a lot more to talk about, which is, people who come along for the journeys, what we'll be doing on the group calls. But it's, if you're listening now and you've listened through it all, like it's privilege and honor, even just to speak into your life, no matter where you're at right now. Okay. And if there is any interest for anything past that, please just contact Nick or myself, and this video will be available for anybody that wants to listen to it or listen to it multiple times.
Right on. Thanks, Eric. Appreciate your time, and thanks for being willing to share your story, and looking forward to building something that helps people change their life. So thank you.
Man. Absolutely. You're welcome, man. It's a privilege. You as well, dude. Thanks for everything you're doing, people you're helping, and how you're committing to growing. It's awesome.
Right on.